welcome to another iGroup Tech webinar. This one is for the new pretreatment that we are launching that has some killer features. We're really excited about it. It's been in the works a little over a year, but as with everything here, it's always an ongoing pursuit to provide the best possible solutions to all of the industry. So we will kick things off here in just a moment. I'll send it over to Brian. Please ask that the chat box is closed. I will open the chat box. That's interesting, but you can use the Q&A at the moment. My name's Dean. I'm behind the board here, trying not to trip over all these wires and get too lost back here, but we look forward to getting all your feedback. Feel free to ask questions outside of just titanium, but with all further ado, I will kick this over to the main man, Brian.
All right, welcome everybody to another presentation. We are super excited today to present our brand new pretreatment, titanium. Now, you might be asking, why titanium? The question is why not? 22nd day. This was a serendipitous accident that Dean pointed out. He goes, hey, number 22 on the periodic table, we should launch, it's on the 22nd. Hey, look at that, happy accident. But we are super excited because this is a major leap forward for DTG printers. It has been sort of a dirty little secret, if you want to call it that, or it's never really been talked about in the direct-to-garment industry, is all the pretreatments that are made for white ink printing. So if you're doing any white ink printing, typically, if you pre-treated it, especially on a light color, and you gave it to a customer, and they did not wash it prior to going out in the sun, it would discolor the pre-treated area. Now, after washing, that is not typically an issue. However, we just recently had somebody that has a marina, or they do a lot of shirts for a marina area, and they're lighter colored shirts. Well, obviously, if you would use any of the regular pre-treatments for white ink printing, that would end up discoloring the boxed area that was pre-treated. And it can happen extremely quickly, and we're going to take a look at that here in a little bit. But like Dean said, it has been a long road to get here. It has been over a year. We've been working on this and constantly working to improve the Image Armor products and make DTG printing easier for you, the direct-to-garment printer, and help you give a better product to your end customer. Whole goal there is to get repeat business to you for printing shirts, and hopefully our products will help you make that more of a reality. So, as I said, most people have never really discussed this, and it's always sort of been sort of a backseat topic. UV discoloration. Typically, you wouldn't notice it, especially on a black shirt. If you're pre-treating a black shirt, somebody could wear that out in the sun. You're not going to see it because of the color of the shirt being black. However, when you got into many of the lighter colors, like a light gray or a light blue, there would be a lot of issues with that discoloration and the interaction of the sun and the pre-treatment. Now, we have developed the titanium to resolve that issue and still give you an incredible looking print on, if you wanted a white shirt, light colored, and we even have some people using titanium on dark colored shirts like black. We've done that. You can do that. The main focus of this is the lighter colors. And we're going to cover a lot of different things, from how to do it, what you should do, why you want to do that. So we're going to pack a lot of stuff into this hour-long presentation, give or take, and if we go over, we go over. Dean's giving me the don't go over. But to get started, titanium It is like any other pretreatment that you would use and apply. It's sort of across the board with our Image Armor products. We recommend starting in the 20 gram to 25 gram range for a 14 by 16 inch area. Now, that is the total amount of pretreatment applied to that area. That is a very, very important aspect. Now, with this, we'll cover a lot of different things. And just to show you, here is a white shirt. I'll move these out of the way so we can sort of move this in front of this camera here. And this was pre-treated with our titanium pretreatment. Let's see if I have, yes, this one here was a 1-to-1 mix ratio. Now, what we end up doing is on some of the more problematic colors. You may also be asking, like white, a white t-shirt. Why the heck would I ever pre-treat a white shirt? Well, this way you could actually print your white underbase, get a good white underbase there, and then print your color. And the shirt is going to look incredible. It's going to look a lot better than just printing on a white shirt without pre-treatment. Now, it is going to be more, you will have to pay more attention to your process on a white shirt. And by that, I mean it will depend on the amount of pretreatment applied. Some white shirts will perform better than others as far as discoloration is concerned from the heating process. Any discoloration, that's typically what you would see. There are ways around that. With our pretreatment, we recommend starting at about 20 grams to give you a baseline so you know where to go if you need to go more or less or can go less. But on white and some of the harder to do colors, you may want to water down the pretreatment. You can try it at full strength, which will give you the best print possible. You can do a ½ gallon of water to 1 gallon of pretreatment, or even a 1-to-1. I would not go more than a 1-to-1, but by slightly watering down the pretreatment like that, you can achieve less marking on those problematic colors. White would be one of those because it's going to be the most visible. But as you can see, like I said, if we can switch back to this shot here of our shirt, there's virtually no marking on it outside of where I can see the heat press was. And the image print quality is really, really, really good. Now, that being said, let's take a look at, we'll pull this off to the side. I should just toss. And we will take a look at, if you haven't seen it online, we do have some videos on YouTube that will display the shirts. And this is actually one of the printed shirts that we did. And you can see I sort of notched out the pre-treatment mark area when it was wet. This has been out in the sun for 2 hours. The shirt was not washed. Had we washed even any of the other pre-treatments, had we washed it, you probably wouldn't have gotten the UV interaction. Now, this one here was and I'm not going to say exactly who, but you can see the mark specifically, okay? This was out in the sun 2 hours alongside of this other white shirt that we actually printed. So you can see the mark. Now, the crazy thing is that this one here was another major manufacturer's white ink pretreatment, and it still yellowed up really good. It's kind of hard to see with our lighting here. And this was another third-party pretreatment made for white ink printing. And it also really, really yellowed up. Having said that, lighter colored shirts, a lot of people won't print white ink on a white shirt. I recommend trying it, But some of the tips that you can use to achieve really, really good prints on any of them is you will want to apply your pre-treatment starting at about 20 grams. You might be able to go less. If you are able to achieve less laydown on the shirt and still get a great print, that will reduce any potential staining. A lot of it comes down to what we have seen here. If there is a mark on the shirt after you heat press it or you heat cure the ink, which is typically where you're going to see that discoloration, a lot of times it will start to fade away. It was sort of a surprise to us because even Dean had said on one of our fluorescent green 50/50s, he was like, oh my gosh, that is like, you can really see that after it came out of the heat press. After it sat 15, 20 minutes, it really started fading, and within a couple hours, it virtually was gone.
Hey, Bri,
yeah.
Can you want to show one of the green ones off real quick in the close-up?
Let's see here. These fluorescents are really crazy as far as, I'm not sure how well this is going to show. Wow, in my monitor, that thing looks really nasty because of the fluorescent. Outside of heat press marks where the fibers are matted down, this was 20 grams of pre-treatment and heat set at 330. That is one of the tips that I wanted to talk about. We have sort of revised our curing temps. In a heat press, you can actually probably go about 300 degrees to 330. I've done some at 280. 300 to 310 is probably a really good starting point. And the reason for that is we want to make sure that the pre-treatment is completely dry. And there is a point where it will make the magic happen, I guess you could say. And it needs to be over 300 and dry. Then you can print on it. Now, you may or may not see a little bit of a box at that point. Typically, like I said, that will appear after you heat press a second time for curing the ink. Our sales guy has had real good success out in the field with people that have conveyor dryers and are able to run through it at a lower temp and then finish off with a real quick heat press to mat the fibers down and trap them. And we've had a lot of people convert over to titanium because of the improvement in quality. It doesn't stink, even out of the bottle or when you spray it. I know that can be an issue with some pre-treatments, that it just smells horrible. But the light blue, this is always a problematic shirt, and hopefully everybody can see it even though our background is a blue screen. Pull this over here. It came out, the print was really good, and outside of where the heat press was, it is incredibly difficult to see anything otherwise. Now, that was pre-treated on a Port & Company fan favorite with 20, this one I think was actually 25 grams, and heat set. So that just, I know everybody always has an issue with light blue shirts. This will make it easier. If you have a brand, during this whole process, let me put it this way, I've learned a lot about the manufacturing process, the chemicals that go into making a shirt and the dyes that go into making a shirt. There are going to be some shirts, no matter what, whether it be titanium or a manufacturer's pre-treatment, that you just are not going to be able to pre-treat because it's going to discolor. A lot of that comes down to interaction with residual chemicals, or the dyes used in the shirt are maybe slightly less expensive and will interact with no matter what pre-treatment you're putting on it. Some pre-treats may be more than others, but that is always going to be an issue and an uphill battle that we're facing. But on a lot of these lighter colored shirts, titanium can potentially help you achieve a much, much better print. And if I took this out in the sun and wore it, like today, I think it's 85 degrees and sunny, it's not going to yellow in the sun. Do we have a question?
Well, we got a couple questions I'm going to save here for a little bit, but
Sure.
One that I wanted to ask right now was, How does it work with different blends?
Well, the fluorescent was a 50-50 jerseys. This is the same print, same design. Actually came out really well. This one was, I believe we set this up at 25 grams. 50-50s are harder to print, and because of that, a lot of it's the weave. And it was funny because we can get into this a little bit later. You can't print on thin air, and if you hold a 50-50 up, a lot of times you'll be able to see right through the weave of the shirt, and you can't print on thin air. You can't pre-treat onto thin air. So one of the techniques that I'm sort of trying to encourage, on most of these lighter colored shirts, you could do a single pass of white ink, okay? Now, and I didn't bring in my tissues to show this, but if you think about it, your white ink layer is like a single layer of tissue. If you have a really thin layer of white ink on a shirt and you stretch it, the potential is it's like a tissue paper. It's real easy to rip that apart, which on a shirt, yes, the ink is designed to stretch a little bit, but a real thin ink film will have more of a tendency to not be able to bridge that gap and hold. So what I found, even on like white shirts, to give better washability and these lighter colored shirts, bumping up, and it all depends on the printer, so you need to test this yourself, but bumping up the white underbase a little bit during that first pass can really improve the wash durability of your prints. But you might say, oh, I don't want to, white ink's expensive, blah, blah, blah. That's correct, but you also want a very good wash. That is another topic we can do another whole video on at some point. But if you think about it, even in screen printing, if you do a 320 mesh white and a real thin layer of white ink on a medium shirt, that may not stretch very well and will crack. Now, you also have to ensure that the more ink you lay down, that you're curing it properly with your heat press or conveyor dryer. That will ensure that you get the best wash durability out of it and will reduce a lot of that cracking. Because when you put a shirt on, you're stretching it and everything. And after you wash it, and if you blowtorch dry it, it will also cause that to potentially crack along the seams. So I like to and encourage people to bump up the white ink a little bit on the underbase to get a better foundation. I know a lot of rips also will lay down less white in certain areas, which can be beneficial, but at the same point, that also gives you a thinner ink film there too. So it's just something to, as a side note, to consider and think about. But other blends and different stuff like that, you can do it. As always, do your own testing and make sure everything's going to work for you. We've done a lot of the testing here, but your process might be slightly different, and everything else can. You throw all these variables into the blender and you never know what's going to come out.
Hey, Bri, do we have a color range that's known? Like how dark of a color can titanium be used on?
I've seen people use black shirts with it.
With full formula,
with titanium. With titanium.
As a full formula or dilution?
As a full formula.
Wow.
But again, it wasn't made specifically for that, and I'm going to preface this. There is no magic bullet. There is no one pre-treatment for all. This is designed for white ink printing with white ink underneath your CMYK. It is not designed on cotton or blends for CMYK only printing, i.e. no white. Can you do that? Yeah, but it's not going to wash as well as a dedicated light shirt formula, and we do have some shirts somewhere I thought that I brought to take a look at that. I'm sure we do somewhere. But the wash durability of a CMYK only, and anybody that claims to have that universal out there like that, I call BS on it, period. Marketing is a great thing, trust but verify and test. We want you guys to test our stuff, and we'll have a special offer later where you can do that for free. But color range, yeah, super light to some of the darks. Again, it's designed specifically for the mid-range colors. I'm not going to verify it works on all the reds and all the navies and blacks. Some people have done it and have been able to make that work, but I'm not going to say this is universal. I still like platinum for many of the darker colored shirts, but I'm sure with tweaking and more testing, you can get this to work satisfactorily. Is that correct?
Well, that's a new word.
Satisfactory on a black or darker colored shirt. I mean, this is, you know, a dark gray,
yeah,
athletic gray,
which was always kind of difficult. You are the wordsmith, so. So that was another question: was what's the difference between of the 4 pre-treatments that we have out now? We have light, we have ultra, we have platinum, and now we have titanium. What would you use when and why? Yeah.
Okay, Ultra was the culmination from our dark pre-treatment, which was our first official pre-treatment. Then we came out with Light. Light shirt formula is dedicated specifically for CMYK only printing on white and light colored garments. We recently reformulated it. It gives much better wash durability, and that is great just for the, he's throwing shirts at me. I'm not quite sure why. It looks good up there. Oh, okay. So the CMYK only prints for white and light color garments. The wash durability is much better than if you just print a white shirt and don't pre-treat it. We can do another video again on that someday here soon, but I've written a lot of articles and posted on my LinkedIn about it. The Ultra was an upgrade from our original white ink formula. And then we came out with Platinum, which was a major improvement, we believe, over the Ultra. So some people still use Ultra and like it. I like Ultra for that white ink printing on dark colored garments, and it works really great. Titanium is another step sort of beyond Platinum that will allow us, without UV interaction going out into the sun prior to washing the shirt. You won't have to worry about that unless you cross-contaminate your pre-treatments. I don't want to hear somebody saying, oh, it's yellowing out in the sun. If you don't flush your lines really good, the potential is there that there's residual dark shirt pre-treatment in your line, and then you bring in titanium. If you don't wash that out well, the first several shirts very well could yellow in the sun because there's just residual contaminants in the system. I've seen that, and it typically usually takes a couple sprays to get work through that. But yeah, it allows you to do a whole bunch of stuff like these light colors. This here is a pastel, I think it's like a seafoam green, Port and Company. And we'll lay this out here, and you can see, I mean, it just looks awesome. The whites, I don't know if we can see that very good, but the whites around the lettering are really, 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 really good. Smooth, beautiful, beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. White ink printing on like that. Now, I did do those also in, let's see here, a 0.5 and a 1:1. Again, the 1:1 still looks really good, but I like the way that the ink and everything laid down on the full strength. You're going to lose some of your coverage capacity, but if it's a color that will potentially stain on you, or I should say discolor during heating, that can be a way to remedy that on some of the harder colors. These gray shirts, same exact thing. These were Gildan Gildan Ultra Cotton. And this one here was a full-blown full strength and 20 grams of pre-treatment, and that just, it looks phenomenal print-wise. And so you could give that to a customer, they could wear it outside immediately, and you wouldn't have to worry about it yellowing in the sun. Pink, another problematic color. Shake the wrinkles out of this because I didn't have time to steam it. Pink, another problematic color typically, and there we go, we can see that. The whites look phenomenal on it. So ideally what this is used for are those lighter pastels, lighter colors, maybe problematic colors that you've had in the past. But the biggest point, and I know I've said this a million times, you can put that out into the sun all day long and it won't yellow up and interact with the UV from the sun. So I see the...
Yeah, hands up, hands up. Hey, Bri, got a question here. What image armor pretreatment would you recommend for CMYK printing only that also offers the UV resistant?
The light shirt formula won't UV yellow either.
If you apply it properly, because you can over apply.
You can over apply, but even over application, typically it's not going to yellow. They're formulated not to, and it's just white ink as an animal all unto itself. But if you're doing CMYK only, absolutely the light shirt formula, and typically that won't yellow. The only time I've seen it yellow is cross-contamination, or I had a customer one time, and I'd go back to this. This is back in the early days. They had a Brother GT541, and they're like, the shirt's discoloring. I'm like, oh, that's impossible. The printer's making it discolor. I get over there, and it was on, I think, like a light ash gray shirt or a white shirt. And it was where the heat press was, man, it was boxed out and yellowed. I'm like, what the heck? And I go, it can't be the printer. It's just printing ink onto the shirt. So I went to the heat press, took a shirt, pressed it, and it totally discolored. So that's one thing to check if you have a major discoloring issue in general, and it's where the entire heat press mark is, not just where the pre-treat is. That's one thing to check because stuff can happen during the manufacturing process.
Bri, are all these examples that you're showing, are they all post-wash, or do you have any things that pre-washed?
These are all pre-washed.
Okay.
These are all pre-washed. So I know sometimes washing can take away that box or stain type thing, but these are all pre-washed to show that there is no boxing on these prior to washing. There's no boxing prior to washing. Man, it started rhyming in my head really wrong.
You're a hip-hopper too, huh?
No.
Wordsmith and rapper. Do we have anything that shows how well it holds up in the wash, though?
Let me see here. I don't have anything in here. I didn't bring my polyester shirts in here. We have Bob maybe can grab the polyester. I don't know where specifically the washed ones got to. But yeah, this will wash just as well as like our platinum will when your white ink film is cured properly and applied properly and you have enough pre-treatment. It's the standard. We've gotten to the point in the industry where if you apply the correct amount of pre-treatment and the correct curing process for the ink, that will basically give you a very good wash durable print. Now, what we still recommend for everybody is to, let me just grab all these, not those right now. We still recommend wash and gentle tumble dry. We know most people will throw all this crap in a hot dryer and destroy the shirt. That is not recommended for any pre-treatment or any garment in general. That really wears and tears on the fibers of the shirt, let alone the print. So if you want the best lasting wash, a nice good wash and air dry or slight tumble dry is ideal, but I get it. Most people are like me, lazy. You'll throw it in and torch the crap out of it. Now, a fun little fact is polyester. This is a polyester shirt that was printed but not pre-treated. Now, you might be saying this whole seminar or webinar is on the, yeah.
And that's been washed, what,
This
6
has been
times?
this has been washed only 6 times. This one here. Now, you might be saying, this is a seminar about titanium and white ink printing on like, hear me out. Not this one here. This one was pre-treated, a white 100% polyester shirt, pre-treated with titanium, CMYK only print, washed 10 times, and we can see here's my little wash counter, and the difference is just massive between the two. So you can use titanium if you want to. I still recommend using the light shirt formula because it does wash a little bit better, but you can use titanium on a white polyester with CMYK only printing and get a phenomenal print that'll last wash after wash after wash. So that's another little side bonus of our titanium pre-treatment that most people don't realize you can do.
All right, right. We are about a half hour into it right now,
gosh.
so I know.
Okay.
I want to play this a video of the UV if people haven't seen it just yet, and you can chat a little bit, and then we'll jump into the Q&A. We have some really good questions.
All right, let's get this puppy rolling. Should have a video up and playing. Look at it. Okay, so what we have going on here, this is a 2-hour time lapse. And on the left is our printed pre-treated shirt with titanium. And that was at 20 grams. 20 grams for the other 2 shirts also, and those are manufacturer's pre-treatments. And you can see that it started yellowing in the first 10 to 15 minutes, which is crazy. So that goes to show you how fast it can discolor in the sun. And just holding this up, the lighting in here is probably a little more difficult to see, but this is one of the shirts that was out there, and I can see it a little bit there. I don't know if we'll be able to see it on this. Yeah, you can see right here the boxing on that shirt. The boxing on this one was really, really, really bad. And I'll lay this one down here. You can see this one really discolored. And then our titanium on the gray shirt, no discoloration, 2 hours out in the sun, not washed yet. Neither were these other 2. And these basically came out looking phenomenal. And I'll see if I can hold this up here. That white is just, it's butter smooth. It just printed freaking incredible. And these were on the Gildan Ultra Cotton shirts. So it's an okay shirt to print on. I recommend printing on the highest quality shirt possible.
Bri, can you lay that down as like a split tee?
Oh.
Between the one that has staining and the one that doesn't, just so.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You can, oh, there you go.
Does that make it better to be able to see? Yep. All right. Yeah, I guess I could do it like that. So, and you can actually see the difference. It's probably maybe a little bit harder on camera. In person though, it was crazy. So to prove to you that I'm not just selling snake oil, which I've never sold snake oil, and I've tried to figure out what snake oil is. How do you get oil from snakes, Dean?
You gotta milk them.
Oh. So what we're gonna do is we are going to take a shirt here, white district threads. We're gonna come over here to our Viper E3 machine, which is a great way to be able to lay down pre-treatment. And we're going to put down 20 grams of pre-treat on this. And if I get the lint and dirt off of this, we're laying down 20 grams of pre-treat. And the beauty with the E3 is you can really fine-tune the amount of pre-treatment and lay down as little as 10 grams of pretreatment on a shirt. So I have a little bit of dirt right there. We're going to take this over here to our heat press, and I've got this set up for 20 grams, 20 grams, 20 seconds, and 300 degrees. And we're going to press this twice, basically, until it's dry. It's going to start steaming out. My paper is going to curl, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have issues getting that back laid down again. But
that was one of the questions: is there a recommended time and temp for curing this? And there is another competitor, or there are competitors on the market, and they are specifically requesting tunnel curing if at all possible. Now, we know a lot of the smaller shops or middle-sized shops don't necessarily have a tunnel to cure, so
Now, can you tunnel dry this? Absolutely, and you'll probably end up getting better results just because of the evaporation process. Because we're heating this and it's turning to steam and we're trapping it and it's steaming out, that's typically where you're going to get a lot of the problems and discoloration. That was 300 degrees, 2 20-second presses, and outside of the heat press mark where the shirt's completely flat now, we'll see if we can lay this down here. Good. Now, you can print on this, print your white ink, then go and heat press it, and you still want to make sure you cure the white ink properly, but the balancing act is going to be, if you go too long, you can yellow even this print here, the pre-treated area, just from overheating. What we did here was 300 degrees at 20 seconds and 2-second presses, and went to make sure it's dry. But again, even if there was a little bit of a discoloration on this, as it sits and cools off, it will typically revert back, so you really won't see it. The biggest feature, again, is I could take that out into this hot summer sun that we have today. It's 85 and sunny, and that will not yellow. And I know a lot of people will take and print shirts and maybe put them on display in windows, that your customers might do that. So they're buying shirts, putting them into a window. If they're not using titanium, that pre-treated area is going to discolor and yellow, and it will most likely yellow very, very, very quickly. And they're going to come back to you yelling and screaming and this and that and da-da-da-da. And it's like, well, you should have washed it first. Well, if they're trying to sell to the end customer, their end customer, they're not going to wash it either, just like you don't want to wash it. So this resolves that entire fact. Now, let's do for shagiggles. Yes, that is a true term. This was one of the ones that colors that I found we tended to have more of an issue with discoloring, and hopefully we can show it and show it dissipating as we work through the rest of this. So we're going to do this again. Now, typically, like I said, I did the other one at 20 grams. I want to do this one at about 15 grams because I know that it's going to discolor a little bit more. And as I said, we could potentially water this down a little bit, a half gallon to 1 gallon of pre-treatment, or even a 1-to-1, but your prints won't be as smooth on the whites typically as what they could be. So we'll come back over here and load this thing up. Grab a new parchment paper and heat press. Question.
Brian, while that is curing, I'm just going to start asking some of these Q&As.
Start firing away on questions. That's
these are in order, no rhyme or reason here. How can I prevent staining on darker garments? I have had that problem with Image Armor dark shirt formula pre-treatment in the past.
The dark shirt formula specifically?
I don't know. I would assume that it's probably Ultra because dark's been phased out.
Our Ultra... Okay, so Platinum was an improvement over Ultra with slightly less staining. Yes.
I think it's more a question as to how to prevent staining on dark garments in general. So a lot of that has to do with application amount.
Application amount, if you over apply with any pre-treatment, typically it's going to have a tendency to end up staining more than something that's hot. Rule number 2. And outside the heat press marks, I really can't see anything on here. Let's zoom into this outside the water stain here, or the steam water where that'll dry out. This is ready to print. Now, when you would go to print that and then heat cure it again under the heat press, depending on how long it's under there and the pressure used, you may see that yellow up a little bit and discolor. If it does, you have a couple of options. Wait an hour or two to see how much it fades, which it will likely fade, or water down the pre-treatment slightly. And some of this, like I said, there's no magic silver bullet. It comes down to the quality of the shirts, your application amount like we talked about. Even on some of the darker shirts, platinum is less likely to discolor as much as the ultra or the dark formula. Titanium, I've seen some people do it, but they're typically doing it on a black shirt with a conveyor dryer. That does allow more of the steam to come off without being trapped in here between the shirt itself, the bottom platen, and your cover sheet. That is where a lot of that discoloration, if it's not a issue with the shirt itself as far as dye is concerned, that trapping and turning to steam, and then typically superheating, turning to steam, and then supercooling again as you're lifting and everything, that can cause some staining issues depending on the shirt. So if you actually put something under here and hovered it for a little bit, as long as it's still wet when you press it or slightly damp when you press it to get a good smooth finished print, that's great. Now, some people in conveyor dryers will run it all the way through to totally dry. What happens is any fibers in the shirt, they want to go fink and stick up like this. And even heat pressing that, then you're not going to get them to lay down as nice and smooth. That's why you want it to be at least slightly damp when you go to heat press it, because that will trap everything down, give you a much smoother surface to print on and smoother whites.
Well, this is a great follow-up question because it says we use a tonneau dryer to mostly dry the pre-treatment.
Yep.
What oven temp is recommended? We try to keep the shirt slightly moist before press to flatten out and keep the fibers smooth. We do a 6-second press at 330 to complete the drying process.
Yep.
What oven temp, though?
That is a very open-ended question. You could set it at 900 degrees and probably run that shirt through in 3 seconds. That may work, I don't know. It depends on the type of dryer, the length of dryer, the height of your heater from the surface itself. There's so many variables there, but you don't want to overheat the shirt and scorch the crap out of it. I believe that most people have been like 250 to 280, give or take, on the running through a conveyor dryer. But again, that depends on how close it is, how long is your tunnel length, and at what speed you're running that shirt through. Ideally, you want it to come out still slightly damp so you can finish it off, which was a great answer as part of that question. 330 for 6 seconds to finish it off, mat everything down, and get rid of all the extra moisture. Then that sucker is ready to print. Next question.
Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here. More than my brain can handle sometimes here. For the polyester, do we have a particular brand that were used? Because
no, that was
someone
a
had
Sport Tech.
Oh, Sport Tech.
That was
okay.
a Sport
and
Tech.
Soft poly.
450, 540, something like that. 351 maybe. It was the jersey knit type.
Silicone sheets. Should you use them for curing pre-treatment?
Can you? Yes. Do I like them? No, because it'll really, if it's a high shine Teflon, it's going to modify the surface area of the shirt and the pre-treated area more than, say, the parchment paper. I think the parchment paper also has a little bit more of a tendency to breathe, whereas a Teflon or silicone sheet can sort of trap everything even more. Yes, that is completely reusable, but the cost of these sheets of parchment paper, I think like are fractions of a penny or something like that. So realistically, this shouldn't be a hindrance for you on the pre-treat side.
I've also noticed that the silicone will give your image a shine.
If you're
undesirable.
heat pressing with that, yeah.
I keep it simple. I say craft for curing, parchment for pre-treatment.
Yeah.
So
yes. I would
easy
highly
peasy.
recommend that also.
This is a two-for question here. How does it compare to platinum, and is it as sticky as platinum?
I haven't seen the stickiness. So, excuse me, I haven't run into that specifically. And the difference, again, platinum was designed specifically more for the white ink on darker fabrics. So, but again, you can use this on, excuse me, the dark shirts also. It's going to take some tweaking if you want to do that. I would recommend more of using that as like a preheat and letting it sort of dry that way prior to pressing immediately, because you may see more of a box from the pre-treated area. It's not necessarily a discoloration, it's just a function of it. But like I said, we've had people running it through the conveyor dryer on black shirts, and they like it just as well as platinum. So again, take it, test it, and try it. But I personally like the light shirt formula for just your CMYK only prints. This now for anything where you know you're going to have it and the potential of being out in the sun and discoloring, that will remove any returns from you on that end as the customer returning product to you. And the platinum for the black and the really, really dark shirts to get a phenomenal print.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's what I was going to suggest.
It's warm in here.
Being truthful, because that's what we do around here. Hopefully we're known for that. I personally don't like titanium on just a jet black shirt. That's
But
me
we
personally. It
haven't-
works, as you said. But, yeah.
Excuse me. Put me down.
Brian's over there hacking up a lung. All this talking, you're not used to it, huh? It is.
We don't have air conditioning in this room. That's the problem, and
yeah.
it's like 85 and humid
Got
outside
lights
today.
on and all the cameras, and okay.
And the heat, I'm standing right next to an oven.
All right. Rip settings. Do rip settings need to be adjusted based on the pretreatment you're using?
That depends, and I really don't have a good answer for you on that. Use the rip settings that you would normally use to get a really good print. That's about as good as I can get on that, because there's so many different rips, so many different settings. If you have the proper amount of pre-treatment, I would assume that your rip settings would probably pretty much work out to be the same, whether you were using platinum or even a manufacturer's pre-treatment. We've had some people say that they like this better at the same settings as the manufacturer's pre-treat. So you might even be able to dial back the amount of ink a little bit. But again, what you don't want to do is, somebody walked in while they're streaming this, so I'm hearing myself echoing all over the place, is you do not want to specifically do a double pass of white ink on a lighter colored shirt, because the humectants in that secondary pass of white ink on a lighter colored shirt can bleed out into the surrounding image area, because there's so much white ink on that shirt and it really doesn't have any place to go. So it's the carrier will leak out into the surrounding area of the printed design, and you can get a halo. That's why I recommend like a single pass of white, Or if you're laying, depending on your printer, if you're a big printer with like a Polaris and it does multiple passes, you can do a bunch of like lighter passes, but like a secondary big heavy white print can potentially bleed out, leave you with a halo that just won't go away. So that being said, good. That's why I like upping the white underbase also, is because it'll give you a little thicker ink film, better coverage, and it will end up, when the ink's cured properly, giving you a better wash durable product in the end.
Good stuff. All right, this is kind of going back to our tunnel curing. Same customer.
Okay.
They were having some issues with staining. They were Image Armor Ultra customer. Shirts like charcoal, lime, they would just stain from the heat. So is titanium kind of a help or a cure for that as well? And there's a couple questions about charcoal.
Charcoal sucks, just so everybody knows. Let's just be upfront. A lot of times a charcoal colored shirt can be a re-dyed shirt. So that means it may have started off as not this pink, but a pink that never sold for 100 years. They take it back in, they re-dye it. And it's the dyes that are used to make the charcoals, even if it wasn't a re-dyed shirt, they're just incredibly tough, and it's a difficult color to do. Am I going to say it's going to work on all charcoals? No, I'm not going to claim that, because I'm not going to lie to you from that aspect. Can it help? Potentially. It just depends on the color shirt. And you are correct. Like the fluorescent green 50-50 that we did here, that has more of a tendency because of the dyes used. Now, Ultra was a whole different animal than Platinum. Platinum allowed us to do some of those colors a little bit easier with less staining. This is similar to, the titanium is similar to Platinum. We just were able to tweak a whole bunch of stuff in the formula so that it doesn't UV discolor when it's out in the sun. But yeah, if you're still using Ultra, I would definitely recommend trying Platinum. And you can typically use less Platinum than you could the Ultra, which is going to help with any of those discolorations. You have to remember, laying down less pretreatment introduces less variables. But if you don't have enough pretreatment, you're not going to get a really great, smooth print. Those were some great questions, and thank you for all of those. So we're about ready to wrap up this webinar. You can get more information on our titanium by visiting our website at www.imagearmorpt.com. That's imagearmorpt, as in pretreat.com. Or you can call our office at 877-673-4377. Dean, I think that does wrap us up completely for the day. Appreciate everybody that stopped by, watched our webinar for the day. And if you are interested in trying the Platinum Pretreat, we do have on our website a form that you can fill out to receive a free quart sample. We believe in it so much, we want you to try it at no cost. We know that you'll like it, and with summer being here and upon us, there's a lot of DTG printing going on lighter color garments, and you don't want that to discolor on you or your end customer when they sell it to their customer or they use it. You don't want them coming back to you. This will help resolve that issue so you don't run into that. And we're just super excited for you to try it. Some of our distributors already have this in stock or it's in transit to them. Call your distributor where you would normally buy Image Armor. If they aren't carrying it right now, call us direct. We can help you out. With that being said, do we have anything else, Dean, that we need to discuss?
I don't believe so. That was quite the good presentation, and I do thank everyone for attending. So, Brian, our fearless leader here, do you have any parting words? Where can people find you? Where can people go to get more info?
That's right.
General pre-treatment questions, we are the people that love to get those, and we love to give answers. So
Yeah, you can follow us on Facebook, on iGroup Tech. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have videos posted there. You can visit our website on YouTube. Image Armor is one, as well as iGroup Tech. You can follow us on Instagram at
iGroup_tech.
And that's a great way to keep up with stuff. And our website at imagearmorpt.com. We are working more diligently to try to get more information out there. It has been a long road to bring titanium to the market. We love trying to improve the DTG industry, and my joke is we're striving every day to improve direct-to-garment printing one shirt at a time. This is another fantastic step towards that, and we just appreciate all of our customers and you attending and watching this webinar to learn more about our new innovative and industry-changing product for pre-treating and direct-to-garment.
With all that being said, I personally want to thank you for attending the Image Armor Titanium launch release webinar. As Brian had mentioned, you can find more information on imagearmorpt.com. You can also visit the Image Armor Facebook page or the iGroup Tech Facebook page. There's also the iGroup Tech Instagram page. And please, 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 get a sample, try it out, give us your feedback. Let us know if you love it. Let us know what issues you might have with it, any suggestions for improving things. We are here for you. As Brian mentioned in the webinar, several people here are printers. Brian himself was a print shop owner before things expanded. I was a print shop owner before things, started working out here. So we've been in the trenches, and we are here for you. Let us know how things go, and we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can with a dedicated answer or give you a lead to somebody that can help you out. So thanks again for attending this webinar. Stay posted for many more, and in the meantime, be sure to check out the Daily DTG, which is posted to the iGroup Tech YouTube page. We got a couple of those in the can that we'll be posting soon, and we'll be recording more of those throughout the year to where we can answer your personal questions with anything related to the decorated apparel industry. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.